Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journey, encourage folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories. Hello and welcome to the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journeys of food entrepreneurs. We are glad you've joined us today as we bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce.
And Sarah Masoni of Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center. Hi, Sarah Marshall.
Hello, Sarah Masoni.
Well, we are not in a driverless car today, but you were over the weekend. Can you tell us about that? That was pretty cool.
I sure was. Yeah. So I was in San Francisco this weekend. They are testing out driverless cars in that city. Well, they've been testing them out. They are now releasing them nationwide. So people will see them all over. But they were really happening everywhere in San Francisco where we were. So I saw them and I said, no, I don't want to go in the driverless car.
It was too scary.
Well, I watch a lot of horror movies with my husband. I was like, that seems like anything can happen. Either we're going to get kidnapped or the aliens are going to take us somewhere, whatever it would be, whatever it would be in one of those movies he would have me watch. And so I just said, no, it's kind of like, to me, it's like when Segways came out and everybody was riding around them and everybody would stare at you. That's what it reminded me of. So that's like not my scene. I was like, no, thank you. But then I was there with my mom and she was like, yes, I've never thought this is anything that would happen in my lifetime. She said, I'm pretty sure she just screamed, adventure.
I'm so glad you went with your mom.
I did. Yeah. We went on a family trip to San Francisco to see family and, a cousin was having a baby shower. So all the family came together and went in a driverless car through the streets of San Francisco, which San Francisco is already
what
kind of.
Was the best part about it?
I mean, just, it was funny. We laughed the whole time. I mean, that was
Did it like open the doors for you? Or
no, you open the door. It's an app, so you call it on the app, and we were at my cousin's house, and he had the app, and he called it for us, and so it says your name on the top of the car, and then you get in, and you can choose your music that you want, your vibe, set all the air conditioning, everything, but there's nobody in the front.
That is so trippy.
It was really wild, Hailey. It was wild. There's a front. It's a car that somebody could drive, but there's just nobody driving it. And so I took it.
But you can't like hijack it, like jump in the seat and like drive it somewhere?
I think it just shuts off if somebody tries to do that. Yeah. And so, and you can like call for help or you can ask it to stop, through the app. You can do all those things. But it was wild. It was fun. We had a good time and we made it safely. But I was doing an Instagram live, which is why people knew that that's what I was doing, because I said, just in case something happens, here I am showing that we were getting into this car. You. Yep. So arrived safely. It was all great. Good job, Mom. Yep. Mom made us have adventure and it was very, very fun.
That's good.
So thanks for watching, Sarah, and thanks for...
I keep my eye on you.
I know. Yep. Thanks for making sure I'm safe. Well, we've been partnering with the Regional Food Business Center to bring you guests from our 6-state region, and we are currently meeting with business owners from the great state of Montana. I would like to welcome our co-host Hailey Vine from the Montana Department of Agriculture. Hi, Hailey.
Hello. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I'm so excited that we're chatting Montana still and that you're here to be our guide. Do you have any Montana news for us?
The only thing that came to mind is we are about to close our pre-application period for our Growth Through Agriculture grant, which is one of our longest agriculture grants in the state. I think it's been in statute since the 80s. So, it's seen a lot of changes, but we're really, really happy with how we have it structured right now. And so we have pre-applications are due at the end of the month, and then we'll go on from there.
And what would be the kind of businesses or people that would apply for this grant?
Yeah, GTA is all about businesses who are looking to add value to our state's agriculture commodities, so value added agriculture, or who's innovative in doing any type of community impact projects. I believe our guest today will be able to speak to some of those type of projects. Yeah, and it can be used for really anything from construction and contractual costs and travel expenses. It's a great $50,000 grant, or you can apply for a $100,000 loan with a max amount of $150,000. So it's a pretty good chunk of money.
Very cool. And where should people go if they're interested in applying for it?
They would just want to go to our state's website, which is agr.mt.gov, and they'll be able to find it in one of the topics up top.
Perfect. Well, we would like to encourage you to connect with your state by signing up for the Regional Food Business Center newsletter. It's a breeze to sign up. Go to Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center.com, hit connect with us, and choose the button to receive newsletters. And we want to thank our sponsor for supporting the Meaningful Marketplace. Thank you for helping us spread the word about small business owners and entrepreneurs. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. The Northwest and Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center is the proud sponsor of the Meaningful Marketplace podcast, giving a voice to food from across the 6-state region of Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. The Food Business Center supports Northwest and Rocky Mountain food industry makers as part of the USDA's National Network of Food Business Centers, supporting a more resilient, diverse, and competitive food system as a go-to source for small and mid-tier food and farm businesses with a focus on underserved communities, providing education in the form of technical knowledge, business programs, and industry news. We sponsor trade shows, meetups, and conferences to connect growers, producers, retailers, distributors, and processors, all to stimulate business and raise the standards of our storied food industry. Join us as we travel through the 6-state region, learning more about food makers, food hubs, and food systems. Visit the website at Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Businesses.com to get connected. I would like to introduce you to our guest, Mark Siderius. He is the board chair of the Glacier Processing Co-op, processing meat in Columbia Falls, Montana. We're delighted to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on. Glad to be here.
We like to connect our listeners to the businesses on their website and Instagram. What's the best place to find Glacier Processing Co-op?
At glacierprocessingcoop.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram, any of those under Glacier Processing Co-op. So
perfect. And we like to start at the beginning. And so your role is as the board chair of the Glacier Processing Co-op. So can you explain what that role is and what the co-op does?
In August of 2022, the Vandy Vanner Meats facility was in jeopardy of closing. It had been for sale for a number of years and had been unsuccessful in finding a buyer, and the owner was, looking at selling the land and just closing it down, and it was going to be a huge problem. So at that point in time, I started working with the owner to look at becoming a member-owned, producer-owned cooperative, ag cooperative out of that, because I'm not a meat processor. I don't want to be a meat processor, but I am a cattle feeder and I really like what I do. And so I guess, I wanted the service to stay. And so that's what we've worked at ever since. A lot of partners have come in to help this happen, right from the beginning, to form the co-op, build all this, and develop this. But that's how we came to be as a producer-owned cooperative.
That's great. Can you tell us what the main products and services are that Glacier Processing offers?
So Glacier Processing, we offer fee-for-service butchering, inspected animal slaughter and processing. So we process pork, beef, lambs, and goats. Mostly pork and beef are the bigger ones for us. We have a second business, a value-added business called Montana Jerky Company, which is a regional distributed jerky and best jerky you can buy.
Delicious.
It is a great product.
Yum.
That came along with it. The former owner of the business started on R&D on the jerky side in 1986. Finally, in 1988, he felt he had a product that was worthy of sales, and so it was well tested by that point in time, and it hasn't changed the recipe since. So that's what we do is fee for service slaughter and processing.
How does being a co-op benefit your members compared to traditional business models?
So as a co-op, it allows us to put members first, to put those producer members first. And it allows those producer members to make business decisions on how the business is run, the direction it heads. It has really helped us in the fact of financing, grant opportunities, funding opportunities. A cooperative is a really favorable model in all of that. It's transparent. There's not a single owner trying to pull a profit in from that. We're all looking to invest in the business and make that business successful for all of us.
That's cool. Can you describe the process of how the products are made and maybe tell us a little bit about like how you handle the cattle, and then if somebody's having a finished good produced, can you tell us about that process?
So if you're, for a purchaser, for a buyer buying product from a rancher, from a farmer, they get in contact with that person and arrange for the purchase of it. That animal is delivered to our facility. At that point in time, that animal is harvested, and at that point, the office staff calls, and it's truly a custom cut order. They walk through a cutting order for that animal. You get to pick the cuts you want, how many steaks you want to a package, how thick, how big a packaging. Everything is right down to the customer's desire. When that's done, it's all put through a quick freeze system and stored until that customer picks it up and takes it home. So it's truly a custom process once it begins.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about the biggest challenges you face as a processor, and how do you work through those?
So the biggest challenges we've faced, I guess, was to begin with just the hurdle of making the acquisition, determining whether or not it was a viable business that we could make go, because desire only takes you so far before reality has to set in. And so the biggest challenge was making those determinations. We were really fortunate to have good consultants to work with us. And from there, it's been challenges of the schedule is so full that, there's no room. We had to clear the schedule to take over because at the time when we bought the business, it was an 18 to 24 month wait. Well, we had to shift that and make it a member first, a producer first operation. And so now we schedule in 6 month increments and fill in with non-members to round out the schedule. So those were our two biggest challenges, was just to get control of the scheduling and finding all those pieces and parts to put this together and make the purchase.
Okay, so now everybody's wondering, how many animals can you handle in a day?
So typically they'll process about 5 beef and a few hogs or lambs daily is what they do.
Okay, I'm going to ask you another question. Let's talk about quality. So I'm guessing that if you buy into the co-op, you can expect high quality outcome. Can you talk a little bit about your quality systems?
Our quality systems are, they're outstanding. We have bumps in the road just like any business, churning through product. But like I said, our quality is it's cut to order. Everybody gets to make their choices, on what they're getting. So no two orders are alike. So quality wise, they really strive to put out what the customer is asking for and give them what they want. The quality of product that you're getting out of that compared to grocery store products is just not even comparable.
So I was just thinking back to when I was a kid. I grew up in Minnesota, and my parents would order a half of a side of beef. And we would actually go to it was usually from a dairy farm because dad was connected in with dairy farms. And we would actually go help pack the beef. We were wrapping it. And I remember mom and dad talking about how much ground beef they were going to get. And so a lot of people may not have had that type of experience. Could you kind of describe how people decide how they want their side of beef cut? Like, do you say, I want 30% ground beef, I want it with 20% fat? Like, how detailed can somebody get into how they want their animal prepared?
They get pretty detailed, and our staff actually walks them through the process. So they start at the front of the animal and they walk them through the whole thing, lay out options for them. And we have people ordering cuts that I've never heard of, cuts that are some of the time there'll be cuts that only the lead butcher may know what they are because they're trendy, newer cuts and stuff,
Like the volcano cut or whatever that is.
They end up with like these Franken-style ribs, short ribs and
long pieces of bone with small.
So it's as involved as the customer wants to be, I guess.
That's a true benefit.
Hailey, have you been to the plant?
I have. Yeah. I was just going to say, Mark, when you were talking about your planning stages, he worked with just a great collaboration of economic development partners in this, especially with our food and ag development centers. And so with that, I was able to attend kind of their showing that we had with Governor Gianforte. So he's the governor of Montana. We did a tour with him and got to see where they're at currently, and then got to see their expansion plans as well. So I don't know, Mark, if you want to talk about any of that, of how the GTA assisted or your expansion plans with the co-op. It's pretty cool. And I want to mention, they are actually our second processor that is a producer-owned co-op. So we have one more in Havre, Montana Premium Processing. And so it was just great to see these different groups come together to help Glacier meat processing get off the ground with learning how the first one was established. So, Montana truly is a small town. So it's just great to be able to pull all these resources together.
Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, you can tell us about the expansion.
Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard by providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together. All right. Tell us a little bit about the expansion that you're planning for and the grant funding that you might have received.
As Hailey had said, we're one of two producer-owned cooperatives in the state of Montana and one of, I think, 8 producer-owned co-ops nationwide. So it's a fairly new model to be going with. So expansion-wise, we're an old facility. The facility started in 1945. And has been running continuously since then. So we're an old facility. There's been many additions. We plan to build a 6,000 square foot expansion, which will about triple the capacity that we have. And at the same time, it will give the Montana Jerky Company side of the business room to expand into our current processing space. And again, it will have the ability to about triple as well. We were fortunate to be the recipients of a $50,000 Growth Through Agriculture grant, and we had targeted equipment with that grant to upgrade and do some updates. And so we got our $50,000 grant, and I think as to right now, we've spent like $304,000 on equipment since
That's
April.
Kind of a drop, isn't it?
So it doesn't take long, but that $50,000 grant was a huge asset. We ended up buying equipment that the previous owners, never imagined, they could never justify it. And the quality of the product, that that it puts out for us, and the diversity is huge. It's taken us up to a much larger capacity and a much, higher scale than we were before. So growth through egg's been a great asset for us.
I was just going to ask you, what role does innovation play in your operations? It sounds like some of the equipment that you were able to purchase has really brought in new technology. Could you just give us one example?
So the first piece that we purchased is a cabinet style brine injector. So it has a conveyor belt that runs through, and so we use it for hams. And during the summer season, we do 5 county fairs from eastern Montana and into northwest Montana. And so needless to say, those fairs deliver a lot of hogs to us. And so a lot of hams. This brine injector, it just conveys that through and does exactly what it says. It injects cure into that ham. And now we can do 40 hams in about 20 minutes through that. And from there, they're getting ready to go in the smoker. 40 hams before would have been a half a day, for a person. And by the time that person was done doing 40 hams, they would have been done for the day because they'd have exhausted themselves.
Pretty exhausting. Mm-hmm. Did you upgrade your smokers too, or do you have like a secret, sauce in your smokers so you're not going to touch those?
We have not upgraded the smokers. That part of the business is actually in very good shape, just because that's the daily operating pieces. So they've been kept up in shape for all these years. So a lot of it's been replacing old equipment, 1950s equipment, mm-hmm. and then some updates to new equipment that we didn't have. So
when you talked about the fair, I think first thought in my mind was, oh, you're supplying hot dogs to the fair. But actually what you're talking about is that 4-H students, or I guess there's FFA participants, will have their hogs at the fair.
Yep.
And then they come in to be slaughtered.
Yeah. So we're, fairs rely on having inspected facilities to be able to bring their animals into for harvest. And so, yeah, we start at the first part of July, and we run all the way till September with fair animals pretty much. And again, hogs, beef, goats and lambs. And so a huge amount. It's really our busy season getting through all those fairs for the kids.
So when all that meat's coming in, do you keep it segregated so people actually get the animal that they brought in?
Yep, everyone gets the animal that they brought in is what they get back. There's never.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I was going to ask when we were talking about smokers, because I just was looking into this new machine. So I'm wondering if you guys have seen it at all. So we, smoke some of our peppers for the different sauces that we make, and I just use a little smoker outside, but I have to do it outside. So sometimes the weather is bad. It puts my flame out and then I have to start over.
Your smoker.
Yeah. But I saw these smokers they're made for chef kitchens, for restaurants, and they can go inside and they don't produce smoke, that goes into the kitchen. You can vent it outside. And it's kind of like a smart smoker. Has anybody seen one of those or used them?
We have a smoker in our oven at the Food Innovation Center, actually.
Do you think it's the same kind of thing?
Who knows? This thing, you plug it in. We have a Rationale oven, mm-hmm. and it's all pre-programmed.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
how
can
these are.
Go on the screen and you push smoke, and then you just plug this thing into the wall of the oven and, put a few chips in there and it smokes.
But then it doesn't put any smoke into the kitchen.
I mean, it smells a little smoky in mm-hmm. the room, but there's no smoke in the room. No.
I think it might be a good investment for me. I might look into it a little bit more. Thanks, Sarah.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that's cool. It just seemed like a better idea. I'm looking for more consistent results.
Yeah.
You think so? Do you think that's what I
Mark,
get?
do you actually use wood to smoke, or are you using liquid smoke, or how are you applying smoke?
I mean, they buy sawdust
Oh,
chips
okay.
to smoke with, and the smokers are, they're big smokers. You wheel full
Truckloads,
trolleys,
like the
truckloads
dolly
in
trucks
there,
in
and
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they just, once you start the cycle, it runs its cycle and does its thing. So yeah,
Is
So
this
I was,
sawdust from Flathead from all the trees?
that no,
No.
no, that hardwood sawdust there. So.
how do you handle logistics and distribution? Is everybody responsible for moving their animals around, or do you provide service in that area?
So under our system, everybody moves their own product around. The co-op does not do any marketing for of animals. Everything, all the marketing is up to the producer to do, as well as the delivery and pickup, or the pickup, usually is customers picking up, but yeah. And then the jerky side of things, we have, we're shipping daily, shipping orders out daily. And then we have one distributor that works part of Western Montana, and then locally we typically have an employee making drops daily here or there with products.
Do you
So,
do the beloved pepperoni stick?
we do. That's in the list of things. They make a really, really good jalapeno cheese stick. So
That sounds dangerous.
I always love the stories of co-ops, no matter what kind they are. My family was really involved in food co-ops in the 70s in San Francisco. And I just feel like, your story can be a movie about how you saved the town by providing jobs because the meat processing
True.
plant didn't close down. It's really like a success story for the state, right? When those kinds of things happen.
it's a huge thing.
Maybe it could be like on the Hallmark Channel. Were there any romances at the co-op?
Yeah, I don't know about that. We're not quite that elevated.
We have to turn it into a love story for the the
Yeah.
Hallmark Channel to pick it up, but maybe
With a
Sarah and I will
Christmas
try to
theme, I
pitch it.
guess.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be a beautiful setting if it was Christmas theme.
We saved this one, but since saving this one, I know we've lost a couple in the state since then. So, it's a hard thing, that we managed to save one. All the pieces came together and aligned to make it happen, but we're still losing them. It's a critical resource, at a time when producers, need that market advantage, and consumers need that product, need to have that quality product available to them.
Well, it's been a struggle here in Oregon. We've done a ton of research on mobile slaughtering units and all that stuff. I've been watching the industry for the last 25 years, and I think it's amazing what you're doing. And I actually took note when you said there's about 8 processors like you across the U.S., which actually makes you a trendsetter. So
It's
do
pretty cool that
you?
there's 2 in Montana of the 8.
I know,
Got a quarter
Montana.
of 'em.
Woo. You guys are trendsetters. What are some of the trends that you're following in the meat processing industry that you kind of keep your eye on?
So at the moment, we're really watching for grant opportunities as well as financing opportunities as we go, in the expansion. Always looking for more opportunity, equipment wise, always looking and looking to hear about things that will free up labor. Not that we want to get rid of positions, but we have other things that people can do. So we're never at a shortage for jobs, and so if we can free something up through innovation and get a few more hours out of an employee in a different area, it's a huge boost to us, I guess.
Since you were just talking about employees, can you tell us about some of the core values that the board of directors have put in place for the co-op?
So we've focused on providing a living wage to our employees, are doing absolutely the best that we can. All of our employees, receive $20+ an hour outside of, we've got a high school kid that's a cleanup kid, but otherwise everybody else is in a $20+ an hour cycle. We're putting together a benefit package, which they've never had a benefit package. We want to be a place that is career oriented and rewarding for employees to work at. I think the employees really like the co-op model in the fact that basically everybody's at an equal spot. There's no boss that is taking the profit away or anything. Everything's getting reinvested back in through everyone. So the co-op it's an interesting dynamic, I guess.
Are you ready to take your food packaging to the next level? Elevate your brand with epackagesupply.com. ePackage Supply offers high-quality, food-grade packaging proudly made in the USA. Plus, they're your one-stop shop for expert advice, custom labels, and printing options. Whether you're just starting out or scaling up, ePackage Supply provides flexible quantities and competitive pricing to fit your business's unique needs. Visit epackagesupply.com and use code MEANINGFUL10. That's meaningful10 for 10% off your order. Or call 866-775-4881 to chat with a food packaging expert. ePackage Supply, your partner in packaging. Visit epackagesupply.com today.
So I was just curious about how you interact with the community and if you have any great success stories that you might be able to share about somebody you've helped or somebody that's done something great.
So we have many success stories out of this. A lot of them are actually the other way with people reaching out to us and wanting to know how they can become involved. They're not a producer, but they're a community member. They see the importance of this, and I can't tell you how many people have told me, I don't know why I'm so drawn to this. I don't know why I feel so compelled to be involved with this, but I just feel like I need to be a part of it. I need to follow this. I need to do something with you because it's such a great thing. And that's been the most rewarding. And the other part, I guess, is the fact that, all of these fairs, many of them are in eastern Montana, so they're not really our fairs, but we as a co-op have been able to step in and member-wise say, we're going to take these 4-H and FFA students, we're going to take these kids as our kids, and this is what we're going to do to keep this program alive. And if you have the ability to keep growing it, we will do our part to help support it. So, our next generation, that's the important part for all of us.
So, Mark, I imagine that you grew up in Montana and you were a FFA person, right?
I was 4-H and FFA, of course.
So can you tell us one old shenanigan story from staying in the barn at the fair or anything like that? I always want to hear those kind of stories.
I don't know if I've got any off the top of my head to tell, I guess.
Sarah, you're going to get him and his teenage self in trouble.
I was going to say none he can say on the podcast. Maybe.
My mother could probably shed light on some, but
I mean, when I lived out in Columbia County and I would go to the Columbia County Fair, I'd see that there were kids who slept in the stall with their horse, or there was a cot by the goats and stuff like that. So I was just kind of curious about that.
You think they're up to mischief?
And we never got to stay at the fair. By that time it was harvest time for the farm end of things, and so the fair was, you were getting your stuff done as quickly as possible to go back home and work then. So
okay.
Can we hear a little bit about your farm that you run?
I'm a 4th generation farmer here in the Flathead. I live on the same farm that I grew up on. I bought that from my mom and dad a few years ago and bought my sisters out of it. So we own the farm we grew up on. We run a mixed operation of grain, hay, pulse crops, beef cattle, and then a finish, start to finish feedlot with it. In the past, we grew peppermint and stuff. That market is currently not going, but yeah, so we're here just doing our thing in the Flathead, which, there's not a lot of production ag farms left in the Flathead. So we're using the co-op to hopefully provide some stability to all these producer members to help keep ag alive and hopefully strengthen ag in the Flathead Valley.
If people are interested in joining the co-op, can they still do that?
They can still do that, and they can find on the Glacier Processing website, they'll find all the information on that. There's a contact phone number for me, an email and all that, and they can sure reach out with any questions or interests they have.
Can you tell us or give some advice to any other small businesses or co-ops that might be thinking of creating something like you have at the Glacier Processing Co-op? Any words of advice or wisdom?
So, Montana Department of Ag, that's kind of the go-to resource. We have some cooperative development centers in Montana. Department of Ag is probably going to link you over with the nearest co-op development center, and from there they will hold your hand, help you through this. Be prepared for lots of meetings. We started meeting as a steering committee in January of 2023, and we met every Tuesday for about 18 months.
Wow.
That we met on this building. We pushed real hard, and since then now we meet 2 times a month. So we've got this lax schedule now, but the resources are out there. Department of Ag will link you over. I mean, I never imagined there was this support network out there for this. I just never imagined it was available, I guess.
That's great. No opportunity wasted. Now, do it now.
Hailey, when you think about these kind of co-ops from the Department of Agriculture standpoint, it sounds like you guys are really involved and supportive in them. Do you hope to see more of them in your state?
I think if they're the right fit, yeah. I think there's a time and place for them. I think, and Mark could probably attest to that, cooperative establishment, development, and sustainability is trickier than I think people think at times. So you really need to make sure you have the proper people and champions behind it. But for sure, when it came to like our meat industry, I think this was a no-brainer when it came to the people that saw the opportunity that was there of how to avoid a closure that would greatly impact them. So yeah, we're really fortunate. We have the Montana Cooperative Development Center, who they kind of handle a lot of our co-op development around the state. And then one of our FADCs has their own cooperative development certification as well. So there's definitely support in the development and people to talk the idea through with, for sure. So make sure it's a good fit.
From what I can tell, all the conversations we've had with the folks that are living and working in food systems in Montana is that you have a great collaborative statewide effort. And it really shows when we've been talking with folks and interviewing here on the podcast. I really am impressed.
Yeah,
Love
same.
to hear that.
Good job, Montana. We're into it.
Go Montana, Montana, Montana.
And I know you brought up the Montana Jerky company. Can you tell people a little bit more about if they're interested in getting those products, how they do them, and maybe what kinds of things they offer?
So if you go onto our website, if you punch in Montana Jerky Company, any of those, we've got 5 flavors of jerky that we sell. There's regular, extra pepper, teriyaki, honey, and then a hot one, and then bison as well there. So I guess 6 kinds, but yeah, and it's available shipping to be shipped. We're in quite a few stores around western Montana here and stuff. Like I say, it's a really great product. When they introduced that product, it was really just trying to even out workflow so that employees, nobody got laid off, so that, throughout the season, they had that workflow to keep everybody going and keep workers. So, and now, they've grown that business. We're continuing to grow the business. So,
and that'll be part of the expansion, is having more space for that. Do you use like big commercial dehydrators, or is there some special kind of thing that you use?
So we've got some big smokers that we use for that, and they actually run through the process and pull the moisture level down to where we need, and stuff. All of that's monitored, under inspection too, to make sure that the shelf stability is present in it and stuff.
Very cool. So it's all smoked instead of dehydrated.
It's all smoked instead of dehydrated. Yes.
Very cool.
My last question for you is, got any future goals for the Glacier Processing Co-op? I know you're doing your expansion, but I'm wondering if you're thinking beyond that.
So at the moment, expansion is our big one. From there, we're gonna sure look at what else we can do. Potentially a composting system to deal with our waste products. Potentially a cold storage and freezer unit, so that we'd be able to be part of a food hub or be an asset to the community in those aspects. We've got 20 acres with the project, so if we've got other ag-related ventures that were to come to us, we'd sure be looking to do something with that. Our focus is Montana agriculture, Montana producers, and like I say, being able to keep this going for another generation or 2 or 3 or 4.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We loved hearing about what you do and the community that you're supporting. I think you have done a great job, and I hope to see great things from you all in the future.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for listening to the Meaningful Marketplace podcast. Before you go, make sure to show us some love for our podcast by leaving an Apple Podcast or iTunes review. Follow us on Instagram at Meaningful Marketplace Podcast. And remember, you can call or text us with questions, 503-395-8858. And if you would like to be a guest on the show, you can send us a message. Thank you to our team at Joy of Creation House. Thank you to Kayleen and Hailey, our audio engineer. We will be back next week, everybody. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye for now.